What is going on? And welcome to another fantastic episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions podcast. Today, we got Narado, ZECO, Powell breaking down a lot of the basics when it comes to fitness, but a lot of the stuff that is still very confusing. Well, fitness and nutrition. Now, the reason why I wanted to have ZECO on is that this man is well-versed when it comes to explaining these subjects in a simplified manner in which anybody can use in a day-to-day kind of your regular person can just understand it and digest it a lot easier. However, ZECO carries 7 fitness and nutrition certifications, man. Everything from certified PT, nutrition specialist, corrective exercise specialist, exercise therapy specialist, transformation specialist, DNA-based trainer, and weight management. So let's just say that this man is qualified to drop the information that he's going to give us and all the knowledge bombs. So believe you me, pay attention to this one. You might have to break out the notepad because it is worth taking notes. Lord knows I did post interview. All right, guys, without any further ado, let's talk to Narado ZECO Powell. Before we get started, one more thing. If you want to get any PE gear, be sure to check out TotalManShop.com. That is TotalManShop.com. And use the promo code MHS2020. Promo code is MHS2020 and get 12% off. Be sure to check out their wide variety of all kinds of good quality PE equipment. All right? And that's promo code MHS2020 for 12% off. And the website, once again, is TotalManShop.com. Welcome to another episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions podcast. Today, I got Narado Powell, a weight loss management expert. Narado, how are you, sir?
Man, CJ, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Listen to some of the ZECO Health podcasts that you got. And please tell us more about, what you do on the day-to-day basis. Tell us more about your podcast and tell us right off the bat where we can find you, man.
All right, I'll take care of that for you. So my name is Narado ZECO Powell. I always say my middle name because my podcast is ZECO Health Show.
Yeah.
And people are like, where does ZECO come from? So it's a long story short. I was born in Jamaica. My parents named me after a soccer player, but it was supposed to be spelled with an I, but I guess they have a sense of humor and they spelled it with an E. So I guess I'm just unique. But so that's how that came about. But long story short, I want to bore your audience here. Is I was really skinny as a child. I wasn't a big kid.
Yeah.
And when I moved to the US, I started eating a bunch of crap because I had access to food I didn't have access to. But I wanted to gain some weight. So about 18, I started lifting, right? Every skinny kid would, right? You want to put on some muscle. But I put on muscle, but not properly. I mean, I would do dirty bulk. Every once in a while, I try a clean bulk, cut some weight. But the problem is I would go up in weight and then I'll do a bunch of cardio trying to drop the weight. So then I'll lose like half the muscle I gained. So I'll gain 40 pounds of muscle and then lose like 20, legit, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, just doing whatever I thought I was supposed to be doing at the time. Even I had trainers from time to time, but all they could tell me about lifting, they couldn't tell me about nutrition. So I had my own little struggles there. And after a while, I started developing health problems, and it could be combined with that, but I actually start over. Growing up, I had asthma issues, but it got worse when I got older and I moved here. Not the fall of the United States, just a different environment.
Yeah.
And I moved from being on 1 medication to being on 3.
Damn.
And because my asthma had nothing to do with my working out. I've been active all my life, but it had to do with the fact that my gut was unhealthy. And when my gut was unhealthy, I was having allergy issues, which triggered my asthma. So when I asked my doctor, I said, yo, doc, I'm on 3 medicines. I'm in my early 30s. I keep doing this. I'm be on this medicine the rest of my life. Something I can do. He's like, nope, take your medicine. I was like, okay, no, I can't do this. So I started doing my own research. I took my medicine. I think everybody not take their medicine, right? So I taking my medicine. I kept taking my medicine. But I started reading. I had no certifications. I knew nothing about proper way to manage your body weight, nothing about the health of the gut, all that stuff. So I started doing some reading, learning about hormones, learning about gut health, learning about enzymes, such and so on and so forth. Now, fast forward I would say this March coming up is going to hit 3 years off all my medications. In
Damn.
fact, this time of year, me and you having a conversation, I wouldn't be able to do this when I was on medication.
Wow. Why is
because
that?
because my gut was unhealthy, and because my gut was unhealthy, it was creating a lot of inflammation and oxidative stress. Now your body's very intelligent, and your body's designed to protect you.
Yeah.
So what your body then creates, when your body creates mucus, that's a defense mechanism. Now
Information.
I
Yeah.
learned this through my own research on myself, because I felt it later on when I started adding some foods back in. I would
Yeah.
feel the mucus, right? And
Yeah.
that contributed to the fact that made it hard for me to breathe. So what I had to do, I had to do some fasting. I had to change to more of a keto / carnivore type diet to get the sugars out of my diet to lower the inflammation. Because when you eat fat, it goes through mitochondrial pathway 2, which is a lower inflammation pathway, versus glucose that goes through 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
And that's a more oxidative stress inflammation related pathway. Not saying glucose is bad, but you need to have a balance.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that at the time, but I knew that I need to be on a higher fat diet. So yeah, I now my gut is healthy. I'm breathing, no issues. I'm able to have this podcast. We're gonna talk for however long you want me to talk, and I'm good. And I feel better than when I was on medication. So now what I do as a weight management specialist, I host the ZECO Health Show, ZECO Health. And by the way, I do have 7 certifications in nutrition, weight management, and training.
Gotcha.
And because I wanted to put all that together. And we talk about different things, different ways you can manage your body weight, but by improving your health. If it's just
Yeah.
about cutting calories, it's one show and the show will be over. But we talk about gut enzymes, having the right enzymes. I'm sure you saw on my Instagram today, I talked about gut enzymes and metabolic flexibility. We'll
Yeah.
have an episode I'll bring on a specialist who talks about hormones and balances. I have a specialist next time we talk about training and how you should train. And then I
Yeah.
also have 2 shows now. So I do a interview during the week on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, I throw in a solo show, which is like 10, 15 minutes just to give everybody a taste of a wrap from the last interview. And
Yeah.
then an upcoming, okay, this is what next interview is going to be like. And I may touch on a topic for like 5 minutes or so about a hot topic of the week that I think needs to be addressed. But
Gotcha.
that's what I do.
No, I love it, man. I love it. Plus all the shows that I've listened to thus far. I mean, very educational. And I mean, it's kind of what I like is that you simplify it too, right? So anybody can understand it. It's not just like, it's too complicated, the jargon you use or, none of that. So again, man, I'm a big fan and hey, all my followers, make sure you download the podcast episodes now.
Yeah, I
Also,
appreciate that, man.
the one thing that you mentioned right off the bat that I kind of want to dive into, I mean, I don't know if I added in the show notes or not, but fasting. What kind of fasting protocol did you use when you started to make that difference, or when you started to feel, that health, the change in your health?
Got you. I want to start off with a caveat, right? Because a lot of people think we just to stop eating and then we'll fast and then we'll be all right. I mean, I think there's a record for like the longest fast is 460 some days. I don't remember what it is, a year and a half, a year and 3/4. It's a long time.
Yeah.
But I want to start off by there's a lot of things with fasting before I get into what I actually do. First is men and women, right? And actually, someone asked this question in a group that I'm in, and about fasting. She's fasting for 16 hours because at 14 hours when the body really maximizes autophagy, right?
Yeah.
But with men and women, you gotta be very, very, very careful because our hormones are different, our profiles are different.
Yeah.
I generally recommend for women to start off at the low end, 12 hours at first. When you're first starting, 12 hours max, including your sleep. So if you eat at 7 and then 2 hours, you go to sleep, which I probably won't eat earlier than that, but you go to sleep 8 hours and you fast about 2 more hours. You want to do something like that. You don't want to start off with a long fast because a lot of things can happen. You can have problems with your period. Your hormones can be imbalanced. Your cortisol can end up being too high because your body's in a stress response, especially if it's not adaptive running off fat. Because once you use up glucose and store glycogen, it starts to run on fat. And if you don't have the right enzymes to run on fat, your body's going to constantly be in a stress response. Okay. So for women, you want to start off at 12 hours maximum. Gotcha. Men can fast a little bit longer, 14 to 16 hours. Also with intermittent fasting, I don't recommend doing it every day if you're new to it. You want to give your body time so you don't always have that stress response. You can fast for a whole week, eat one meal a day, and not lose a pound. If your cortisol is high and your body is constantly in that stress response. Um, that's the first thing there. Now, for me, I started off around 12 hours because I wasn't used to it, right? Even as a male, I knew that at a certain point, my body was telling me, okay, you got to eat some food. Plus, I'm not naturally a big person anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose all my,
Muscle
glycogen in my
gains.
muscles and I go to the gym and I can't live, right?
Yeah.
So I started off with that. And then every month I started adding on an hour. And I kept
Gotcha.
going until I hit my sweet spot on my fast. Eventually, my sweet spot was around 14 to 16 hours, kind of depending.
Yeah.
But then this is the kicker. At that point, after doing that for about 6 months, my body was at the point to where it could run off fat as needed. I knew I needed to increase my cellular autophagy, which is basically my cells create my old cells dying off and then creating new healthy cells. So I started on a dinner to dinner fast, and I've been doing that religiously for a year now. Once a week though, it's once a week. I don't, that's on my rest day. So on Thursday, I may swim a little bit, go for a bike ride,
Yeah.
play a little bit guitar or something like that. But I won't do anything too intensive during that time to maximize cellular autophagy. That's those have helped me tremendously because the whole idea, a couple of things that happen with reducing oxidative stress and inflammation. When you're running off fat, I mentioned earlier, it goes through mitochondrial pathway 2, which is a lower oxidative stress inflammation pathway than a glucose pathway. In addition to that, you're resting your digestive system and you're also lowering inflammation. So you're basically lowering inflammation from two sides. And if you think about our ancestors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our ancestors always went through a moment of fasting.
Yeah.
Now, you can't fast all the time, but you had times where food was available. You had times food wasn't available.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, and that's kind of the other thing that I want to touch on that kind of leads into is like right now, I feel that we have all kinds of food available as far as the supermarket goes. But what do you think about the nutritional deficiency in the food that we're seeing in North America?
Got you. Yeah, that's a tough one a little bit because there's really the soil is just terrible. That's where it comes from. We have such bad farming practices now because we're trying to feed too many people.
Mm-hmm.
And the big part of it is that we're really wasteful. When I was a child, I used to work, that was many moons ago, and I used to work at KFC, right? And I'm not knocking
Yeah.
KFC, even though I don't really eat there, but I say that we used to waste chicken every night. I mean, it was like nothing. Like, we just throw out a bunch of chicken because it was done, or
Yeah, it
people
was
take it home.
over.
But right. But after eating KFC for like, a couple of weeks of working there, you don't want to see chicken anymore. So we start throwing away a lot of chicken. Now, what does that do? That leads to, or not just the chicken, but the wedges, the sides, we did like
Yeah.
dump a bunch of sides. Like it was unreal. So then we got to keep up with that demand, right? Because
Yeah.
we're wasting a lot of food. So then what happens? We're looking at, monocropping where they have to basically crop the same soils over and over again to feed us
Yeah.
because we're just wasteful people. We're looking at our meat not being able to, we got to coop them up, right? Like, I don't think anybody
Yeah.
got up one day and said, you know what? I hate chicken. I want to coop them up and treat them like crap. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it really
No.
came down to people like, we need to feed a bunch of people. So we need to take these chicken, have them do minimal exercise, minimal sunlight, cramp them in together so we can feed all these people. Because if
Yeah.
not, we're gonna have a worldwide famine, right?
Yeah.
So our wasteful behavior is what is really leading to the fact that our food doesn't have the nutrients it's supposed to have. Now, that's where supplements come in, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a 100% believer in supplements. There's certain supplements that I believe in. However, I don't believe everybody should supplement, and I think you should supplement under the guidance of a professional
Yeah.
because for women and men are different and you're in different diets. Like if you're vegan versus me, I'm a more of a carnivore slash, I do eat my vegetables and I eat a lot of fruits, but I'm more of a carnivore meat guy.
Yeah.
And my deficiencies are going to be different than somebody that's vegan. A male and a female can be on carnivore diets, but what a female may need may be different than what a male may need, or you may have an underlying health problem. If you have diabetes, your nutrition may be different than somebody who doesn't have diabetes or who's not insulin resistant. So there's a lot that goes into it, and there's nothing I can say to recommend for everybody.
Yeah.
But look at your diet, try to figure out where deficiencies are, supplement as needed, and be very mindful of this too. Don't just take pills, because the pills that we take and these vitamin pills, they don't come in nature like that. And then you
No.
don't ever get, if you eat an orange, you can eat probably 10 oranges to get the amount of vitamin C. I don't know the number, I'm just making it up.
Yeah.
But to get the vitamin C, you're gonna get out of one pill. So your body is not designed to break down that much vitamin C at one time.
No.
You know, so we gotta be mindful of that. This is a really cool thing that I use sometimes. It's a patch MD. I don't have a discount code, nothing like that. But when I put it on my arm, it actually slowly releases our vitamins and minerals in our systems throughout the day. I think that's a really cool thing. Anybody want to look into that, but probably should get a discount code, because I think I just gave him a free plug.
Just promote the man. It's all good. If it's a good product, stand by it.
There you go. But yeah, man, that's all I have. I think we need to, and short from figuring it out on your own. Of course, you can always work with a specialist, dietitian, nutritionist, who can look into what's going on with you and let you know where you need to make changes.
That's kind of that's another thing, because like I'll be working with people too, and everybody wants to know like, yo, where do I get started as far as weight loss goes? Right. And I think a lot of people aren't honest with themselves about what they're consuming. And then they start taking a whole bunch of pills, and they just kind of go from there and like, I'm going to figure this out. And then I'm going to jump on this diet and then that diet. And I'm like, man, do you even know what you're doing? Like, because I was talking to somebody that started, what's it called? They went vegan, right? Hardcore, just overnight. They went vegan. 2 weeks later, the guy had irritable bowel syndrome. And I'm just like, yo, I don't think you did it right, man. I think you're missing something, right? And the doctor told him like, yo, bro, you can't hold anything down. His intestines got all kind of messed up. And I'm like, whoa, to each their own. I didn't tell the guy to do, like, this is just the guy that I work with, right? But it kind of goes to what you were talking about, how you got to basically know what you're doing, seek professional help, and make sure your program is individualized. However, one question I do got, if somebody is just, looking to, start their weight loss journey, it's January, what would be the first recommendation that you tell that person? Like, hey, you want to start losing weight? This is the first thing you should do above all else.
The first thing to do. Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing, if you can, get a trainer.
Yeah.
Get a trainer. If you can afford it, get a trainer. Get a health coach. Doesn't have to be, if you're okay with lifting or you know how to work out, get a health coach. Get a nutritionist. But you don't have to do it for a long time. I say at minimum 3 months.
Yeah.
The reason why is they'll set you on a plan. Because we get into, just like you just said, keto diet. I'm gonna go keto, and then they go on keto, and then one day they're like, oh, I plateaued. Well, of course you're gonna plateau.
Yeah.
Right. And then with keto, what happens is your body gets so good at running on fat, because your body can now create a lot more lipase, which is one of the main enzymes to break down fat, including body fat. But then you lose amylase and other enzymes that can break down carbs. So then you eat some carbs and you blow up like a balloon. I know exactly, like people eventually can't tolerate vegetables, right? That there's small amount of carbs in vegetables because they have less amylase. So when we read these fat diets, like, you know what? My uncle lost 100 pounds on the keto diet. I'm gonna go on the keto diet. I said, well, you're not your uncle, and you don't know if he's plateaued, what his actual situation is, or if he created all the health problems.
Yeah.
Now, am I saying keto is bad? Nah, I went on keto diet. In fact, I'm just coming off keto diet because I cycle ketosis.
Gotcha.
I was just on keto for 3 weeks. Only 3 weeks, because I knew I needed my metabolism fell out of whack in the holidays a little bit, and I needed to reset it.
Yeah.
So I went on keto for 3 weeks to get my metabolism, to my body, to create more fat burning enzymes. And then eventually I got off keto so I can maintain my carb burning enzymes. And I cycle it
back and forth.
Like I knew I ate a lot of carbs the last 2 days on purpose, because I was increasing my glycogen and blood glucose. But I realized that my metabolism was that I needed to step back for a little bit. So today I'm eating a high fat, medium protein to make sure that that extra glycogen doesn't become body fat. So there's a reason why it's important to have a coach. There's a reason why it's important to have a nutritionist. And then when it comes to working out, having a trainer who can put all that together,
yeah,
is just a whole game changer. I work with people. So sometimes I'm known around here. I live in Apopka, Florida, and sometimes I walk into a gym, and people say to me, hey, you work with my trainers for a little bit or something like that. They'll give me something, whatever the case may be. And I'll go into the gym and I'll see the trainers training people, and they're doing high intensity or weight training, whatever they're doing. And I ask them, hey, why you train that person like that? That's my program. I said,
yeah.
okay, but do you know why? Do you know if they need to be trained like that? I said, no, that's my program. I said, dude, if your program will work for everybody, you can just put it on some kind of like play
App.
and just have it go, right? Just let it roll, But it
Yeah,
doesn't work that way. Everybody is different. Like if you have problems, and I won't go into this too deep because I talk about it on my show.
yeah,
If you have problems with sugars, you don't want to do high intensity. You
yeah,
don't want to do high intensity. What I mean by that is, if you already crave a lot of sugars and
yeah.
crave a lot of carbs, high intensity is the worst thing for you to do. And the
Interesting.
reason why is because it picks up your cortisol levels.
Oh,
When your cortisol
stress.
levels are high, right, your body thinks you're
Yeah.
in danger, especially if we get off work and you're gonna do CrossFit at like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. Like you can't even go to sleep. Your body then now what happens is you get in the middle of the night, you want all kinds of cookies, chips, and pies, whatever, which is what your body does. Because your body thinks, okay, he's gonna bring me through this hell of a workout, so I need more sugars. Now what happens is
Bounce back.
this. Right. Your amylase continues. So you're gonna get more and more enzymes that's gonna break down carbs and sugars,
Jeez.
which then you're gonna have less of the enzymes that break down fat.
Yeah.
Now, slow and steady win the race. Again, if you have problems with sugars, then you want to do more of a weight training or endurance type workouts. You can throw in some high intensity, but that's gonna be very rare. You want to
Yeah.
do more zone 2 type workouts. Walking would be better for you than high intensity. So you want to throw in that zone 2 weight training workouts, building muscle. You know how it goes, right? You build
Yes.
muscle, you burn fat. That's
You
one
burn
part.
more fat, more lean muscle. Yeah.
Exactly. And then on top of that, your cortisol levels stay constant, right?
Yeah.
So you do that. Now that's staying in zone 2, because weight training rarely goes into zone 3 unless you're throwing the dumbbells in the air and doing something
Yeah.
crazy, backflips or something like that. So you're staying in like zone 2 for most of your workout, which is zone 2 promotes fat burning.
Yeah.
So then you promote fat burning. So then your body gets more accustomed to the fact that you need more fat to fuel you,
Yeah.
and your cortisol level again is staying constant. So then you don't feel like, oh, I'm always hungry. I'm always hungry. In fact, your body get to a point, start eating of its own body fat, just
Yeah.
naturally, right? But again, that's just an example why it's important to have a trainer that can put that all together. Because if a trainer that knows you, understands you, and then he looks at that, he can say, okay, you're gonna be trained like this. You're gonna be trained. I can have a class, and because sometimes I have like 4 or 5 people. I don't keep more than maybe 4 or 5 altogether.
Yeah.
And I have different people doing different things at the same time, and I'm watching all of them because I know what this person needs, and I know what that person needs.
Yes.
And I can have a husband and wife, and the husband doing something different than the wife is doing. And that's why it's important if you can get a trainer in the beginning, get a trainer. But the one general advice I'm gonna give to everybody, especially you live in America or you live in this side of the world, there's a high chance, especially if you're struggling to lose weight, there's a high chance, very high chance, that you're more of a sugar burner. If that's the case, again, listen to what I just said before. So go back and rewind that, because slow and steady wins the race. Weight training, endurance training, walking, taking at least 10,000 steps, getting sunlight. These are just some basic things that you can do to set yourself up for success. Now, maybe slower.
Yeah.
But it's going to be easier for you to maintain it long term.
Well, that's kind of, I listened to your episode where you were talking about walking, and I'm like, yo, you get it, man. Cause I'm like, I always tell people the same thing. I'm like, bro, like, how much are you walking? You know, you look at bodybuilders, and that's kind of the one thing that I learned a lot from just watching bodybuilders and working with bodybuilders. Is kind of like, yo, you see them, they're not sprinting anywhere. they're not doing HIT, they're not doing Tabata. And I'm just like, well, you're just walking on a slight incline and you're getting to 4% body fat. Tell me more, and it piqued my interest, but it's the same deal. And you even talked about how, throughout your day, it's kind of taking advantage of the NEAT, right? Like that non-exercise activity level. Like, what are you doing outside of the gym that you can kind of just throw in that's going to, get more calories burned, right? And that's kind of where a lot of people, I think, struggle with that as well, like wrapping their heads around, oh, I don't got to kill myself. And it's almost like that psychological factor of, I don't necessarily need to be in pain and struggling, to actually lose weight. But I kind of feel like a lot of what we see in North America has kind of attributed to that. Like in Canada, it's the same deal, right? Like just HIT, go, go, go. And I'm like, I don't really think that's necessary, right? It doesn't have to be super intense. So another question that came to mind now, like for men who are starting off, and let's say if I am an MMA athlete versus your average Joe, what would be kind of the difference as far as you designing a program for them? And what things would you consider in making their individualized programs?
All right. So if I was looking at a MMA athlete, right, and I was training them to build muscle, because it depends on what their goals are. So let's say build muscle, right?
Okay.
Because usually they're pretty low in body fat anyway.
Oh,
so
right.
right. So then we're gonna build muscle. Then I'll look at what they eat now. I will look at if when they will compete, if they will compete again. And then I will start building up my program to make sure that they're eating the right foods, getting the right amount of protein, and they're building lean muscle. Because the problem with most of us is that we start thinking, I'm gonna build muscle. And this is what I did when I was a kid, right? I just started eating food and I would gain 40 pounds of muscle. Not all of it was even skeletal muscle. Some of it was, my organs, so on and so forth, right? My cardiac muscles and my smooth muscles and stuff. I didn't know the difference at the time. I knew I just looked bigger. So, and I'll drop a lot of that, including skeletal muscle when I would shrink back down. And, I have abs and everything, but I was look like 140 pounds or something. So, I had to make those adjustments. So it's making sure they're eating food so they're actually building lean muscle. And there's a way to do that. A lot of people think, oh, you got to build up and you got to shrink down. Let's say you're a bodybuilder, you don't need to do that. You can put on, even as an experienced lifter, I've gone through moments where I put on a pound of lean muscle every month. And that's verified by the InBody test I've taken. So I was like 0.8 to a pound of muscle a month.
Yeah.
And you just keep going. That may not sound like a lot, but you add that up over a year.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of lean muscle, right?
A lot of muscle, man.
And then it starts off sarcopenia, which is muscle loss due to age. Well, people don't realize that. When you start losing muscle because you're not using it, or you're not feeding them right, that's a sign of excess aging. Right? So slow and steady wins the race. Now, the average Joe out there, that comes down to a lot of stuff. That comes down to let me put it this way. I do a 3-side approach to everything that I do. And I mentioned on my podcast many times. I look at ancestral living, what our ancestors do before us. I look at science, but I don't just look at science, because you can find science that says Honey Nut Cheerios is good for you. I look at anecdotal evidence, right?
Yeah.
It's true. You can find science to back up anything if you're looking hard enough.
Well, I was gonna, it's funny you mentioned that, right? But like, same deal, man. I saw this study. It was done by like General Mills, which said Honey Nut Cheerios good for the heart. I'm like, wait a minute, man, that can't be real, But you're right about that. Anyways, go ahead, man.
No, it's no, you're fine, man. And then the last piece is I look at anecdotal evidence. How does it make you feel? And that's how my general approach to everyone who's, especially if they're new to training, right? Who are not experienced. And the reason why I have to do that is this. Our ancestors naturally had a lot of things figured out that we didn't. For example, our ancestors didn't go running just for the sake of running. You know what I'm saying? Like, they may sprint for a little bit to go kill their meal. They did sit down and run a campfire or just say bonfire, whatever you want to call it. They eat. And then they'll walk for long periods of time. That's how our bodies are designed. Our bodies think we're still cavemen, or if you're from, if you believe in the Bible, then I'm gonna say believes that, from 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, right?
Yeah.
From the creation. So that's the one piece. I have to look at that. Then I also look at the science, of course, again, based on if you're a sugar burn, what enzymes do you have? What's going on? Where do I need to make adjustments? What does the science say about this? Keto diet, carnivore, all these, what are the pros and the cons? And look into that, right? Then the last piece I look at is how it make you feel, because I've never taken a gut enzyme test.
Yeah.
How I know what enzymes I have is that when I was eating fat and I felt like I'm gonna die, I knew my body didn't have the enzymes to break it down. This was that
Yeah.
simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I ate carbs, and I mean, even though I would gain some weight, I felt amazing. So it's not that carbs are great or fat's bad. It's just that I didn't have the enzymes to break it down properly, right? So I look at that.
Yeah.
So that's why let's take someone. I'm sure you heard of the keto flu, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. As soon as you get it, you kind of feel lethargic. Yeah. Feel
You
like
feel
you're
like you're
dying
gonna
for the first
die.
week. Yeah.
All right. So after you get over the keto flu and your body start developing more lipase, what happens? You feel amazing. You feel like
Fantastic.
the heavens are open up. You
Yeah.
feel like angels are singing. It's like, oh, you just feel amazing, right? Because what's
Yeah.
happening now? Now your body is developing all those enzymes. Once you get kicked over that little hump, your body starts to develop the enzymes to break down fat. It's like, I'm gonna feed myself. I'm feeding you fat, right? My
Exactly.
body feeding
Yeah.
my body fat. Now I don't have that switch. When I switch to a keto diet, I feel no difference.
Yeah.
A year ago, when I first started doing it, I thought I was gonna die. Well, probably about 2 years ago, I thought I was gonna die. But now I don't feel a difference at all. I don't feel the flu. The only thing is, I'll be honest, if you know what you're doing, it's hard to get enough fiber on a keto diet. So
Yeah.
I've had moments I think I'm having a small baby, but that's a different conversation. So, but yeah, so that's where the anecdotal piece comes in, is
Yeah.
understanding that where you are, what enzymes you have, what training you should be doing, and how it makes you feel.
Exactly.
As
Yeah.
any animal in the world feels better when they eat the right food.
Exactly. Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, ladies and gentlemen, but guess what? Human beings are animals too.
Yep.
We should be able to eat instantly, but we can't do it because we've eating crap for the last 30, 40, how many years. But by making changes, eventually you'll get back to like instinctive eating, and that's where the anecdotal piece comes in. So I combine those three.
Gotcha. And it's funny for myself, like I like carb cycling when I want to lose weight, right? And I just find that it works magically for me, and it always has. The only thing is with age, it kind of, I guess the fat loss slowed down a little bit, but it's still extremely effective. And to your point, on that third day where I was low carb, it's just like, yo, I had to supplement fiber because I'm like, it's just stuck right now, like I could drink as much water as possible, but it's like, God, man, this is not going anywhere, man. Like, but I was gonna ask you too, what is your take on your carb cycling, or how do you do it? Like 2 days low carb, moderate carb after, like, what do you do in regards to it?
Carb cycling, your audience can get tired of me saying this, but it's really unique, right, to each person. Because
Yeah,
for me right now, I carb cycle.
yeah,
But especially with coming off ketosis, and like I said, the last 2 days I was eating more carbs, but I've lessened my carbs now, right? So I carb cycle, but it really comes down to what your goals are and what enzymes you have. If
gotcha.
I was on ketosis for a few months, and then a few weeks, and then I realized, okay, I need to start adding carbs back in. That was my ketosis
Yeah,
slash carb cycle. Now that I'm adding carbs back in, I'm eating carbs twice a day, and they're always complex. Well, some simple, but mostly complex. Before I train, and just a little bit before I go to bed, because especially because I'm not in ketosis anymore, our
yeah,
brain prefers glucose. So when you have a little bit, it could be something simple like honey with some apple cider vinegar or something like that. In fact, I've
yeah.
had people come to me and say, you know what, I can't sleep at night, but I'm trying to lose weight. And I'll tell them, just try some honey with some ACV. And they'll come back to me a couple days later, like, I'm sleeping like a baby. I said, well, listen to this guy, you go places. But
There you
but
go.
I'll tell you what, when I see this, I was like, it's because our brain prefers glucose for sleep. So carb cycling, especially if you're trying to go low carb, is a bang for your buck.
Yeah,
But carb cycling doesn't just mean eat carbs when you feel like it. Actually, it doesn't mean eat carbs when you feel like it. It's eat
yeah,
carbs so your body can use it when it can best use it. Now, this is the thing with that. You want to make sure that you're cycling into high fat as medium to high fat as well,
yeah,
especially if you have problems burning fat. So if you carb cycle for, let's say, a month or 2 months, it looks different for each person. There are going to be times you need to go back on a high fat meal because your enzymes are going to shift and your body's going to say, okay, you've been giving me carbs. I've been carb cycling, right? And I'm eating this, I'm eating and eating fat. But then your body's going to say, okay, now I'm going to produce these enzymes. And then there are two things I want to say there, because I think I lost my train of thought there is, you want to eat fat to make sure you have those enzymes. But if you're carb cycling, you're mainly going low carb, you can damage your body's ability to necessarily keep using carbs, even when you're not training. So then there are going to be times that you need to increase your carb intake. So if you carb cycle for a month or 2 months, eventually you're going to increase your carb intake. And a tip on that is talk about the ancestral piece. Our ancestors ate more sugars and carbs when?
In warm months.
Yeah.
Right. Tropical months. Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of seasonal eating. And that's kind of one thing, like, you're Jamaican, I'm Costa Rican, man. It's like, yo, man, back home, it's like papayas and mangoes, they're ripe. It's a time to eat, right? And that's one thing that I find that in North America, because we're able to eat everything under the roof at any time. I feel like we are so disrupted and so far from, the way nature is kind of designed, That's why it's like, it's difficult to navigate through those murky waters, man. It's that makes perfect sense. In another thing I want to touch on too, in regards to seasonal eating and ancestral eating, what combination do you think works out best? I know everybody's individual in the way that they, should be doing it, but I've been reading about, guys that kind of go full carnivore and benefit from that, and then other people that say, you got to go carnivore / fruits. What is one thing, and I know it's not going to be everybody, but like, what's a good, I guess, ratio for people to kind of stick to?
If you live in the Western side of the world, I can generally say that most of us do have problems with, burning fat, right? Especially if you're overweight. I can look at you and tell. So the first thing I'd recommend is try medium fat. Don't go to a high fat diet. Don't go to straight to keto, right? Don't do that. You're just going to create more problems that you're going to solve. So you want to start medium fat, and then you can build your way up, because there's so many levels to this. There is medium fat, then there is medium to high fat. So you can slowly increase and you get into high fat, but at that point you're still not even into ketosis. So at a particular point, then you can go into ketosis. So what that happens, that helps to minimize the keto flu, because your body is so good at burning fat. There's research. I'm sure you're familiar with the term metabolic flexibility.
Yes, I was gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
And one of the research that really drives metabolic flexibility is that they realize that people at rest and when they're sleeping burn fat for fuel. That's the magic right there. When you're at rest or sleeping, you burn fat for fuel. So if you're a high sugar burner, when you're resting, you're going to be burning sugars and you're going to be craving donuts and cakes and pies and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're a fat burner, then you're going to start to crave fat. If you put me at a barbecue and people have pies and all the stuff I just talked about, right?
Yeah.
I'm not lying to you, bro. I don't want any of that. My body legit does not want any of that. You throw me a half a chicken and I will tear that up like nobody's business. Like, I'm serious. Like, I've gone to like restaurants and Boston Market sometimes, one of my favorite places, kind of stop by from time to time, and they have the rotisserie chicken, and then I just order half a chicken. They want any sides. I'm like, well, I made some vegetables with it. Yeah. And they probably look at this guy, what's wrong with this dude? And I'm just tearing up my half chicken. You know, that's how I roll. You know, sometimes I'll jerk some. I'm Jamaican, so I jerk stuff, and I'll jerk my my beef and throw it on the grill and eat that with some vegetables. You know, and that's how my body roll, because my body is trained to run on fat, so my body craves fat. So slow and steady, slowly increase how much fat you eat, and at a certain point, maybe 4 months, 5 months, it could be a year, you can even start to cycle some ketosis while also cycling carbs as needed. So then what happens? Your body starts to become more flexible. There's a product, actually the only product on the market. It's called Lumen, Lumen. And when I talk about group, that's the health group where I answer a lot of questions. And they actually, you blow into it, it's a breathalyzer, and based on the amount of CO2 your body produces, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs. The simple science behind it, your body prefers sugars. So the more carbs you eat, the more it produces. It goes through the Krebs cycle, which the end product is CO2. So the more CO2 you create, in theory, the more carbs you're eating. Simply how that goes. But when you're eating fat, that slows down. So you take Lumen and you blow into it. The most important measurement is your morning measurement, because you fast while you're sleeping. I don't know, unless you're a sleep eater, you fast while you're sleeping, right? So then when you wake up, you take your test. and then it tells you where you are. I mean, most people are going to start off maybe at 3 or 4 where they're more carb burners, right? Some people are 5. But over time, as they give you nutrition guidelines to follow, and over time, your metabolism become more flexible by following their guidelines. And the science behind it really comes down to the enzymes that I've mentioned over and over again.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of people, like I've interviewed Maria Fox, who she's 51, lost 70 pounds on it. And she's she's the top person for it actually. And her metabolism is so flexible. She told me the other day, Narado, I ate pizza and I didn't gain any weight. This lady's 51 years old. Now she doesn't eat pizza all the time, right?
Yeah.
Well, most of us look at a slice of pizza and we gain weight, right?
Yeah.
So right. So so her metabolism is flexible and she feels amazing. Her energy level is great. So that's a really fantastic product. And we have a group that it's called Lumen as well. So when you buy the product, you get invited to the group, and you're gonna see me there answering questions all the time because we have a lot of new people. And case in point, we have people come over from keto who are like, I can't eat carbs, or I lost my period, or this or that. And that's how I talk to them about what happened, how you should train, and in coupled with nutrition, with the nutrition guidance of Lumen to get you there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you an example of the training part. One lady said, I keep blowing 3s and 4s after my workout. No matter how much I work out, I can't burn fat. So I responded, I said, well, I can work out. And she said, I'm running, right? I said, well, that's the first issue. You're running too much. I said, you need to do more slow and steady stuff. But then I was like, you know what? Try this. I said, you just came back from run. I said, try this. Same day. I said, just give it about an hour, meditate, do something for yourself, relax, and then come back and take a test. Yeah. She messaged me within, I think it was like 2 hours, something like that. And she said, this works amazing because I took a bath, relax, took my test, and it tells me I'm at a 2, which is like a 75% fat burn. And I say, you know why? Because again, listen to this guy, I'll take you places. But seriously, I said the reason why is because your cortisol is balanced out.
Yeah.
And you're more in a fat burning state because your body is more in a state of rest. And you've been following Lumen's guidance for the last month and a half, which has helped your body to burn more fat.
Yes.
In addition to you taking time for yourself and relaxing. So all stuff about meditation and keeping your cortisol balanced and all that stuff, that's not just stuff that we just make up because we're just trying to act like we know stuff. These are the things that actually help on your weight management journey.
Legit work. Yeah, man. It's kind of like breath work, meditation. Because I was somebody else was talking about that too, about the importance of calming the central nervous system, right? Like post-workout. And when you do that, you can really, you can allow your body to recover, but recover from a peaceful place, right? And that's kind of, my buddy was telling me he just started doing yoga because of that. And I was like, you know what? I might have to give that a go too. But another metabolically damaged people, how do you assess that? And how do you work with that, man?
So one thing I do is first I try to get them to purchase Lumen. And by the way, my discount code ZECO Health gives you 10% off their services. So I definitely recommend you go check it out. I think they even have a sale going on right now. So my code ZECO Health, that helped you out. But that gives, I don't have to guess at that point. I don't have to spend weeks trying to figure out how you feel when you eat this, what's going on, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Lumen tells me exactly what's going on, so then I can start figuring it out. Now, when you're metabolically damaged, because if let's face it, we eat a bunch of crap all our lives.
Yeah.
Then your body's not adjusted to burning stuff it's supposed to burn. So there's so much that goes into that. So the Lumen is one piece, but then the health of your gut is one piece. What bacteria are you feeding? Are you feeding the bacteria in your small intestine, or are you feeding the good bacteria in your large intestine and your colon? So then I started to look at, okay, maybe throwing some fermented foods is going to help you there so you can get some good bacteria. Yeah. Maybe you need to eat some prebiotics, because guess what? Prebiotics doesn't just make you go to the bathroom, it feeds your good bacteria.
Good bacteria.
So I looked into what's going on with that. Then when you're working out, I make sure I design your workout so you're not craving a bunch of sugars and craving a bunch of carbs. Because that all plays an important role. Because if metabolic syndrome is also a byproduct of inflammation. I explained earlier that excess glucose in general goes through mitochondria phase pathways 1, 3, 4, and 5, which are higher oxidative stress pathways. So why am I going to put you on a diet that's going to increase your inflammation, increase your oxidative stress? And everything I said before was a lie, right?
Yeah.
So then I look into, okay, what may be better for you so you can manage your body weight, keeping inflammation, oxidative stress down, have you work out so you enjoy it, so you don't hate me and don't want to come back anymore. And then of course look at the three things I mentioned before, which is the scientific studies, ancestral living, also with how it makes you feel, anecdotal evidence, and I'll put that all together and I spit out a package for you.
Gotcha. And that's kind of how you come up with the individualized formula. That makes it's perfect sense, man. Because I do feel, when it comes to that, a lot of people say, reverse that, reverse that. I'm like, no, you know what? It always kind of comes back to something that's individualized specifically for that person. And an issue that I see a lot of times with guys that store body fat, kind of like lower back, love handles, the stubborn areas. What would you recommend at that point combined, as far as, like, let's say buddy's already dropped down from 20% body fat. He's probably now at 14% body fat and kind of wants to get rid of that last 4% to kind of reach 10% body fat, that beach body kind of level, even though I know everybody's different. Everybody stores body fat different, but what would you recommend in that kind of scenario? Because believe you me, I get that one a lot.
Take a bodybuilder approach, especially for guys. You see, most training programs, I heard this a couple years ago, I never fully understood it until recently, are designed for women. And women or men, our profiles are different, right? So that's the first thing. We got to think about how are you actually training? Are you training for something are you training in a way that maximizes your ability to burn fat, right?
Yeah.
And that's a whole long story I'm not really going to get into, but look at how you're training. And then at that point, you want to take a bodybuilder's approach, because bodybuilders do a lot of slow and steady stuff. I know I've said this a lot. Like I'll see him get on the stepping machine. I don't think that's really Stairmaster, right?
Stairmaster, yeah.
And stay on that thing for like an hour. And I'm like, dude, I'll probably kill myself if I stand up there that long. Right? I'd rather go outside for a walk, and stay in Stairmaster, or walk on Stairmaster the whole time. But they'll do that, right? Slow and steady, because they're keeping their heart rate in zone 2, which is helping to burn fat, but not just fat from the food they eat, but also body fat, right? Increasing again your lipase and your enzymes that help you to break down fat. So once you get to that point where you're stuck in your plateau and you can't lose that last amount, it usually comes down to the fact that you don't really have enough enzymes to really burn down body fat. And then you might be training in a way that promotes glucose metabolism.
Yeah.
But you're eating for a fat metabolism.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense, right?
No,
that doesn't make any sense at all. And then you hate yourself because you're like, man, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, because you're craving the wrong food. Remember I told you that I'll go hang out with my friends. Okay, there are days when I just go get some wings and I'll get like 10, 15 wings, right? I don't want any fries. I get some wings, I get some vegetables.
Yeah.
And when I say vegetables, I really mean celery. And I'll sit there, I don't get dressing or nothing, right? I mean, I get, hot, just, what someone comes in, I get it grilled, I don't get it fried. And they know my order. They know my order. As soon as I say my name, they know what's up.
Like, we know what he wants. Yeah.
Right. They don't ask a bunch of questions. They know this guy's weird. This is how he eats. It is what it is. And I sit down and eat that for like an hour or so, because of course 15 wings, especially if they're big, may take a while. Yeah. But I eat slow and steady, right? And I feel great. That's really what my body craves. But why does it crave it? Because I spent a couple years improving my good enzymes, adjusting that, and I train accordingly. Now in the in the summer months, it might be a little different. I burn a little bit more sugar. I do more stuff outside. I do more swimming. I do more running and stuff like that. And I eat based on that. Yeah. So if you're trying to lose that last amount, what you've been doing, look at where the deficiencies are, and it's going to sound basic. And then you can make slight adjustments based on what you've been eating and how you've been training. And then, only then, you will start to lose that last amount.
Gotcha. No, it comes down at that point, you got to look at the micro to really, go over that to that next level. And I 100% agree with that, man. And going to that point, or staying on the topic of guys, who are wanting to lose that last little bit of weight, but at the same time, testosterone levels. What do you think is playing into a lot of the testosterone deficiencies that we're starting to see nowadays, as far as just from a nutritional standpoint?
Actually, if you don't mind, I want to combine training along with nutrition on this answer. Right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, go hand in hand.
So I want to start, I know you said nutrition, but I want to start with the training piece. I started early, my last answer by saying that most training programs are designed for women when it comes to fat loss, right?
Yes.
Well, weight training is a natural way to raise your testosterone levels.
Yes.
And by doing adequate weight training and raising your testosterone levels, which of course ties into your lifts and your gains and your lean muscle and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about our ancestors. Again, they will walk, they'll sprint from time to time, and what do the rest of the time? They lift heavy stuff.
Yep.
You know, gotta move rocks or something, whatever you gotta move, right?
Build stuff.
So right, you gotta build stuff, right? So they'll build their testosterone levels. I'm not saying you got to go out there and start throwing spears and and moving rocks around and stuff. I'm not saying that, right? But lifting and moving heavy stuff is just a natural way of raising your testosterone levels.
Yeah.
Right. Eating adequate protein, building lean muscle. Shoot, you don't weightlifting. Actually, I had a doctor, heart dietitian on my show, Michelle, and she mentioned that weightlifting can even help with improving your good cholesterol, your HDL. They find so many studies showing that weightlifting can help with your good cholesterol because that's what our bodies are designed to do with some high intensity as needed, right? So the weightlifting is a very important part of raising your testosterone level. I think the average man now compared to 20, I think it's 30 years ago, has about I think it's 20 or 30% less testosterone.
Yes. Yeah.
Think about that. And then having a lot of body fat too raises your estrogen levels and lowers your testosterone levels, right?
Yeah.
Man boobs is a thing, people. Man boobs is a thing. I mean, I've had man boobs before, so, and I'm not knocking anybody for that. And if that's your thing, but man boobs is a thing. So yeah, it's so the weightlifting part is important. And where does the nutrition come in? Well, nutrition, there's a lot of stuff tied in, right? There's sleep. And I mentioned earlier about getting quality sleep and how to get quality sleep. Well, part of that is eating, right?
Yeah.
Not eating late, right? Eating a small amount of glucose at night to help you sleep. Having the right sleep hygiene, which I have an entire article on how to get proper sleep on ZECOhealth.com. I think it's ZECOhealth.com/how to get quality sleep. But if you go to the blog, it's right there.
Right.
But getting quality sleep is very important. So your nutrition ties into you getting quality sleep, right? Not eating too late. That ties into you getting quality sleep, right? And then there are a lot of foods you can eat naturally to raise your testosterone. And the problem is that those are not pills. And I'm not going to list the whole thing. You can Google and find it, to be honest. I'm not going to list the whole thing, but I'm going to say that even if you eat those foods, if you're not training properly and you're not getting quality sleep and your hormones are imbalanced, which testosterone is a hormone, then guess what? You're still going to have the same problems. So you got to tie all them. And that's why I said I wanted to start with the training piece, because then you have to tie all those things together.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, because it goes hand in hand. And I think the sedentary lifestyle is really destroying men right now, right? Like it's kind of hard to see because I mean, it's not hard to see. It's pretty obvious. It's just kind of hard to watch, right? You're just like, yo, man, you sit down all day, you sit for 8 hours, you got man boobs, you're fat. I mean, it looks like you got more estrogen in your body. How do you think, from your perspective, mentally, what do you think and how do you think that really affects us?
That affects us in a lot of ways. And first, it comes down to body image, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to look good. I mean, no matter what you say, you can say I'm comfortable, I love eating what I eat, all that stuff. That's foolishness. Don't tell me that if you could eat what you want and have a six pack if you want to go for it, right? So, right. So don't tell me that nonsense. But it comes down to one body image, right? Because we get a certain point, we just keep going. Like I never understood this as a child. I used to say, how is it that somebody gets to 400 pounds? Like, I'm like, you get to 150, yeah, 200. You're like, okay, maybe I'll push it a little bit. Yeah, 250, right? But then you just like keep the ball rolling at that point. Like you just don't stop. So you just feel like you're at the point of giving up. Like no matter what I do, and then somebody tells me to eat less food, and I eat one meal a day. Why the heck am I gaining weight? I eat a salad every day. Why am I gaining weight? Because whoever you talk to have no freaking clue what they're talking about. But so it really ties into that along where you just feel like giving up. That's it. It is what it is. There's nothing can change. And also, I remember when I interviewed endocrinologist Kenneth Rodriguez, and I asked him, what's the biggest thing that impedes us in weight loss, managing your weight. And he said, our tradition, you guys Hispanic, you're Hispanic, right?
Yeah.
You know what we eat.
Yo,
You
big
know,
meals, man. Everybody sit together, eat a big ass meal.
right. Dude, my people say to me when they know I'm Jamaican, dumpling, banana, this and that. I'm like, you know what? Give your boy some jerk chicken
Yeah.
and some vegetables, and I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't eat that stuff sometimes. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying I don't eat dumpling and banana and yams, especially in the
Yeah.
summertime. I do change it up a little bit. But right now that I'm on a higher fat protocol, throw me some curry goat. I eat that all day with some vegetables, so I
Yeah.
get my fiber and my stuff too. So, so yeah, we feel like giving up,
Yeah.
and we just don't know because we just don't know. And that's
Mm.
why again, when you said what should somebody do in the beginning, you want to get a nutritionist, health coach, a
Yes.
dietitian, or a trainer who knows what they're talking about and can set you up. Because once you're on a plan and then you're eating and you feel amazing, food starts to taste good. You're eating
Yeah.
more food that you ate before instead of one meal. You're eating like 4 or 5 and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Once those things start, you go to barbecues and stuff. You're tearing the food up and you feel strong. And you go to the gym and you throw up a couple 100 pounds. And you
You
know
feel
it is,
great.
bro.
You
That
feel
is
great. Yeah.
there's no better feeling than that one rep max, right? Like, there's no better
Yeah.
feeling than that, right? So you started, lifting, feeling strong, feeling great. The whole mental stuff started to change,
Gotcha.
and then that's when they say it's a lifestyle, right? Because at
Mm.
that point you want to go to the gym. Like Maria, same person I was telling you about. I know we're talking about males, but I use her as an
Yeah.
example. Is she's 51 years old and she works out all the time. She weight lifts now. She stopped doing some of her high intensity. She does do some of her high intensity, but she tells me, Narado, I don't work out because I have to work out. I work out because I want to work out. I said, at my age, I've never had this much energy in my entire life. I've never feel this well. Well, it's that same thing with dudes, right? Like when you get in that point where you work with someone and you start to make the changes and you start to feel better and look better. And for men too, a lot of times we just want to feel better.
Straight
You know,
up.
you don't
Yeah.
you don't have to have the six pack and all that stuff, especially if you're 50, 60 years old, right? You just want to feel stronger. You just want to, you want to feel like you can move heavy things if you have to move heavy things, right?
Straight up, man.
And
Man just wants to be mobile. He wants to be able to play with his grandkids, do the very basic things that I find that, what, because of what we're doing constantly, it's almost like people are just breaking easier. It's like osteoporosis. I'm like, hey, man, why you already got osteoporosis? You're not that old. I mean, 50? Come on, man. But it all goes hand in hand with that. The other thing I wanted to ask you too, when you had mentioned the carbs that you choose, what are the carbs that you choose after you kind of get out of like when you're breaking up your keto cycle, I guess? Like, what are your optimal go-to carbs?
first, it may not be quote unquote carbs, but I eat more vegetables. Actually, I eat a lot of
Okay.
vegetables in keto diet anyway, but I start off that, but I build my tolerance back up. So then I go to like quinoa, cauliflower rice, stuff like that.
Okay.
And then I start eating low glycemic fruits. So if I have a glycemic index, download that puppy. You can find them on any app store,
Yeah.
Google, all that stuff. And then start eating foods that are in the complex ranges because those keep your blood sugar steady, and steady blood sugar is important for weight management. And then as my body gets used to the carbs again, is when you get to the warmer months or where I'm like a couple months away from cycling off, I start throwing in some simple carbs,
Okay.
especially around the time that I'm training. But I have to do it in that sense because if I move from a high fat slash keto kind of diet, and then
Oh.
next day I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna start drinking juice and all kinds of stuff, then I'm just gonna create more problems. So you have to do it in stages.
Okay. Gotcha. And sweet potato?
Yep, sweet potato over regular potato.
Yeah. All right, cool. Just wanted to make sure because I'm a yam guy. We do
Cool,
sweet
cool,
potato
cool.
and spaghetti squash too is the go-to that we can sneak in so the kids actually eat that.
Nice, nice.
All right, Narado, man, that's pretty much it, man. We're coming up on the hour. Hit us with the plug and let us know where we can find you once again, man.
Hit your boy up, the ZECO Health Show, ZECO Health, because again, my parents have a sense of humor. Um, so my Instagram is also at ZECO Health, so I made that simple. And check out Lumen, Lumen. Use the code ZECO Health, get yourself about 10% off. And then you get into the group where you can antagonize me with questions all the time, and I love answering those. So, um, yep. But thanks for being on the show, man. We definitely gotta do this one more time.
Oh, heck yeah, man. All right, guys. I will put all the descriptions, all the links. They will be in the description below. Again, until next time, it was an honor, Narado. Everybody stay safe. Peace out.
Honor's all mine, bud.